Okay. Right. We are now streaming on Facebook. So this is weird. Mochi is the guy who's, there we go. We'll hide Mochi away. Oh, Elliot's here now as well. Gosh. Okay. Let's have a look if we can. I'm just going to shut this down over here. Right. We're going to turn on the recording. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's Chumash Shir. We'd like to thank Michael and Ira for being here in person. We'd like to thank those of you who are joining us on Zoom, those who are joining on Facebook Live, and everybody who's listening on Torah Anytime. Thank you to Torah Anytime for hosting this shir, as always. And anybody who's looking for good quality Torah content, you can find loads of it on TorahAnytime.com. Okay, we're going to start with an important thing that we're going to see over here in the first pasuk of this week's Parasha. This week is Parasha Bechukosai. It is split from Parasha Behar, not together as it is in other years because we had a leap year. So on page 708 in the Alt School Chumashim, this is Perek Chavav Pasuk Gimel, chapter 26, verse 3. Im Bechukosai telechu, if you will follow my decrees or walk in my decrees. When you will listen to my mitzvahs and you will do them, and then God gives a whole list of different things that He promises. I will give you the rains in its time, and you will have the land will give its produce, the tree of the field will give its fruit, etc., etc. You go through all the different brachas that Kadosh Baruch Hu promises us if we do what we're supposed to. So many know that Rashi over here says, does not mean keeping the mitzvahs. It means learning Torah. Because afterwards it says, and you will keep my mitzvahs. So what does that mean? Literally means, if you were to translate it that way, it means if you will walk in my statutes or follow my decrees. Following someone's decrees means what? Listening to what they say. So really, if you were to read it, if you listen to what I say, if it's mitzvah, keep my mitzvahs, i.e. listen to what I say, and you will do them. So if you listen to what I say and listen to what I say and you will do it, why don't you say listen and listen? What's the double lashon over here? So right away, Rashi pounces on this, and Rashi tells us, Im bechukosai telechu has nothing to do with keeping the mitzvahs, because the Torah tells us afterwards, Ves mitzvosai tishmoru, you will do my mitzvahs, and you will keep them. So that's the positive and the negative commandments. So we've already dealt with all of that. So what's in bechukosai telechu? It teaches you rather, if you will learn my Torah. That's what he says. If you will learn my Torah, you will work hard in learning the Torah and you will keep the mitzvahs and do them. So it would seem over here, says Rav Sorotskin in the Sefer, it would seem over here that learning the Torah is a prerequisite to doing the mitzvahs. So why is it that learning Torah is a prerequisite for doing mitzvahs? And here comes a very important thing. I think we were just talking to Alex about this as well, so we can add that in over here as well. But it's important to note, the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, this is the first point to be made. Ein bur yirei chet velo amaretz chosid. A bur, a person who knows nothing, a boorish person cannot be someone that is afraid of sin, and an amaretz, somebody who's an ignoramus, cannot be a chosid, cannot be somebody. Now again, chosid here doesn't mean the people with the sidewalks, right? We're not talking about chasidus as such, because when the Mishnah was written, that was about 1600 years or 1500 years before chasidus actually came into being. So we're not talking about that. But chosid means pious, as in religious piety, doing everything that they need to do above and beyond what the ladder of the Lord's. Ira, see you looking something up, right? Don't mind you. Okay, fine. So you're multitasking at the same time. So he says, oh, Malcolm Bernard is here. Hooray, Malcolm's here. Great. So he says, if you will. So what he's saying over here is, if you keep my mitzvahs, if you learn the Torah and then keep my mitzvahs. The first thing to be said over here is, if you do not learn, you will not know what to do. Simple as that. It's very, very simple. And in all walks in all areas of life. It is like that. And it's like that with Torah as well. If you were to ask somebody, can I become an optician just by watching and observing Michael Greenberg in his shop? Of course you can. He's just so good. Yeah, easy peasy. Chances are, I wouldn't want anybody checking my eyes if they just sat there and watched you for a day and then say, oh, that looks easy. 1 or 2, 3 or 4. I can say 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 also. Putting in things, shining lights in someone's eyes, easy peasy. Huh? The great late Alan Creed would disagree with what? Isn't that easy? All right. Right. Yeah, all right. But optometry is a really difficult thing. It's not a simple thing. Of course, if you want to teach somebody just to check someone's eyes, the very simplest thing, I think somebody once said to me, what did I once hear? Is a surgeon once said, I could teach you how to do something in 2 hours, but it'll take you 5 years to learn what to do if something goes wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The simple things are very, very easy. It's very easy to unscrew the bottom of a pipe underneath the sink and take out the rubbish from the, where the waste gathers in and chuck it out and put it back in and go, I'm a plumber. No, you're not a plumber. You can't plumb in a toilet. You wouldn't know what to do if something really went bad. A little bit. So the same way you would never call yourself a plumber if you never learned how to do it, and you'd never call yourself a joiner if you didn't learn how to do it, and you definitely wouldn't call yourself an optometrist if you didn't know what to do. How come when it comes to Torah, that area of logic goes out the window? Out the window entirely. I grew up Jewish. Oh, I guess, well, then you must be an expert in Judaism. Right? Or there are people that I know that still consider themselves Haredi until this day. They're not very observant, but they consider themselves Haredi. And you're like, hey, excuse me, maybe we could sit down and have a discussion about this. Maybe you were born Haredi, but you certainly aren't Haredi at the moment. Because being Haredi is not like I was born Italian, so even if I moved to America, I'm still an Italian. I was born Haredi, so even though I'm not religious anymore, I'm still Haredi. Doesn't work that way, right? That's not how it goes. You have to know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, you can say, I know what I'm doing. These are the mitzvahs that I need to do. Therefore, I keep them. If you don't know what to do, with the best will and the best intentions in the world, you get it wrong. Chafetz Chaim actually says, very famous, the Chafetz Chaim says, that when you have somebody that has not learned the halachas of Shabbos, it is nearly impossible for them to go through one Shabbos without being Mechalo Shabbos, because the rules and the laws of Shabbos are so complex and so complicated that when you say, I'm just going to wing it, can't just wing it. Would you decide to just wing it if you had a very complicated tax return? Would you decide to do your own tax return? Say, look, I can put together the numbers. I know this is how much money came in. This is how much money went out. It's easy. Oh, wait a second. What's considered an expense and what's not considered an expense, and what's a charitable allowance and what's not, and what's considered that what can you deduct and what can you not? You would never do that. I might be able to do my tax return because it's all PAYE. But you got something complicated like Shabbos is much more complicated than your tax return. I promise you. It's much more complicated. It's a minefield. But people are like, nah, Shabbos, go to shul, you have a hot plate. Don't turn on lights. Don't use a phone. I know what to do on Shabbos. You have no idea. No idea whatsoever. And it's really important that if you don't know, you cannot keep. That doesn't mean, by the way, that people who don't know don't have good intentions. I'm not for a minute doubting anyone's intentions. What I am saying is, with the best intentions in the world, it's not possible to do it right. With the best intentions in the world, if I checked somebody's eyes and I gave them a prescription, chances are 99% that I would get it wrong. Is that an accurate assessment? Well, no, you got to get the right prescription. You got to get the right level of astigmatism. You got to check this. What are my chances of hitting the nail on the head with somebody with just trial and error, trying to get their glasses right, Michael? Honestly,
it's not that sort of percentage, but
10%? Maybe 10%, but that means 9 out of 10 people who got glasses from me will be walking around going, I've got a headache or I can't see anything. Yeah, that's not a great percentage. Please don't come to me to have your glasses fitted. I don't do that, right? I barely know how to be a rabbi, but certainly don't know how to be an optometrist. And I'm working on what? At least I'm working on the first one. Second one, I haven't even started working on, right? Really? Okay, maybe, possibly, right? But that's the truth. The truth is that you can't do anything that is complicated without learning it. Torah is complicated. It's complex. Maybe it's not complicated, but certainly complex. It's the most complex legal system in the world, by far. There is no other legal system that's as complex as the Torah, that has so many nuances, that has so many opinions, that has so many ideas. You can't wing it. Yes, they can come to different conclusions, and then you have to know, well, whose conclusion do I follow? Am I allowed to do this? Is I not allowed to do this? So what he's saying over here is, on the simplest level, if you don't learn this stuff, you won't know what to do. So therefore, the Pasuk is saying to you, first of all, you got to learn what to do. Then you'll keep my mitzvahs. But you don't stand much of a chance of keeping my mitzvahs without learning, because you'll miss a whole bunch of stuff. Because mitzvah is not, as people like to think, a good deed. We do lots of good deeds, but there are lots of mitzvahs that have nothing to do with good deeds. Eating kosher is not a good deed, but it's not voluntary. Right? It's not like, oh, well, it's not a good deed, so I'm not really hurting anybody when I eat pork. So why can't I eat pork? Because a mitzvah is not a good deed. It's what God says I want you to do. I don't want you doing this. I would like you to do that. How do you give charity? I was just speaking to somebody today that I want to put together maybe a seminar on charity that we're going to do together with a professional. So we'll get a professional that's going to speak about the legal aspects of charity, and then you get a rabbi that will speak about the halachic aspects of charity. But charity is complicated. Who do you give to? How much money do you need to give? How do you give it? When do you give it? What's too much giving? All that. That's all big, very, very big questions. So you say, well, I give charity. I see a poor person, I put a penny in his hand, I gave charity. You might have given charity this time, but have you fulfilled all your obligation as far as what the Torah demands of you as charity? You say, well, that's a very easy one. It's not easy at all. It's not easy to know what the Torah wants from you if you don't sit down and actually learn the book. So first things first, Bechukosai Telechu tells you, you got to sit down and learn the book to know what to do. You cannot wing it. You wouldn't wing accountancy. You wouldn't wing medicine. You wouldn't wing optometry. You wouldn't wing anything. Why would you wing Torah? What makes you think that I can wing it and just know what to do and I won't get it wrong? To 99%, you're going to get it wrong. Point number one. And therefore, a prerequisite for keeping the mitzvahs is learning the Torah. And number two, the Gemara in Kiddushin tells us, Barasi Yetzer Hara, I created an evil inclination, Barasi lo Torah Tablin, and I created the Torah as an antidote to that Yetzer Hara. Meaning to say, how is it at all that we stand a chance to be good people? We got such evil inside us as far as the Yetzer Hara is concerned. And you can look out at the world and you can see there's a tremendous amount of evil that's going on out over there. So why? Pardon? What happened today? The things that go on the world is just crazy. It's terrible. There's awful, awful stuff going on all over the world. Mass shootings and wars and people stealing and con men and kids stabbing each other. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is that kids stab each other? How old? Teenagers. Yeah. So why should a teenager not stab another teenager? I got angry with him. He was annoying me. He bullied me. I stabbed him. What's to stop you? What's to stop you? Right? unfortunately, and that's why I'm saying it's not them that are bad. It's all of us. We all have something inside us that we need to try to tame. There's the base nature of a human being, and we as for sure as Torah Jews, but even other human beings, have to learn how to tame that nature. So God says, look, it's not easy. So what do? I'll give you an antidote. I'll give you something that could weaken it. Got to give you chemo for that thing that's inside you. What's the chemo? It's called Torah. Otherwise, the thing just keeps on growing and growing and growing, growing out of control. And it spreads and it mutates, all sorts of stuff. And when you live in this world, the way Rav Zalman Sorotzkin puts it is you're what they like to call in America home court advantage. Have you heard of what home court advantage is? Playing at home. Yeah. When City plays in the Etihad, they got, okay, well, they didn't do so well this week unless they just managed on the last 10, 15 minutes to salvage it and to salvage the entire season. I don't know why they had to do it like that. But when they play in the Etihad, they have the entirety of the stadium behind them, basically. When they play in somebody else's stadium, you got somebody else's crowd. You have their fans. And every time you're attacking, they're booing and they're whistling and they're screaming. And there's only 2,000 or 3,000 of your fans there, and there's 50,000 of the other side there. And you're feeling drowned out. So when we're in this world, the neshama doesn't belong in this world. The neshama belongs up there with God. What belongs down here? The body. The body with its base nature, with the Yetzer Hara, with everything inside it, belongs here. So therefore, you know what the body says? I'm at home over here. I feel great. I see all this great stuff around me. I'm all for it. Because that's what the body says. The body is going to really have home court advantage. The body's playing at home because we're here in this world. So how do you bring your fans over? How do you strengthen yourself so that you have the ability to fight that evil inclination? You got to learn Torah. Torah is going to give you the ability to overcome the evil inclination. Without it, you can try. Sometimes you'll be successful. Sometimes you won't. But you won't be as successful as you will be with Torah. Because what Torah does is it raises the individual. It raises the neshama. It brings the neshama closer to God. And the neshama says, hey, now I'm playing with a lot of extra power as well. I just got myself some extra players. I did something in the transfer window that was very clever. I added in a bit of depth to my team. Now it's not your team versus my team, with your team having so much more of an advantage because my team has gotten beefed up also. By learning Torah, you beef up your ability to be able to contend with the Yetzer Hara, because your neshama now grows, gets closer to God, and it says, I am now not anymore in this deep, dark, disgusting, dirty world of ours. Wow. What's that, alliteration? Deep, dark, disgusting. Yeah, 4 Ds. That was pretty good. How about that? My English teacher would have loved that. Shout out to Mr. Karcher, right? 4 A's. Okay. Pardon? Better grade. 4 A's. Yeah, absolutely. 4 A's is not so great. Okay. Right? So what he's saying here is the following. If you will learn Torah, then you stand a chance for its mitzvah tishmoru. Then you stand a chance to do the mitzvahs. If you don't learn Torah, then you're going to be in an arm wrestle where the other guy is this massive Hulk and you're just you. And you're trying to pull down this huge fellow and you're not getting anywhere, quite obviously, because he's so much stronger than you. So you got to know about that. Okay, that's the first thing. Now, there are, let's see, I have a couple more things that I wanted to say over here. And then if I run out of that, I'll still say more. Let's say 2 short things. The first thing is short, and then we'll move on to something longer. The first one was a little bit long. So we'll say something short, and then we'll move on to something longer over here again. So the verse that we're looking at now is Parak Chavav, chapter 26, Pasuk Yutes, verse 19. So we're in Chavav Yutes, page 710 in the Art Scroll Chumashim. Bottom sentence, 2 lines on the bottom. V'shavati es ge'onuschem. I will break the pride of your might. V'nosati shmechem kabazel, and I will make your heavens like iron, right? And your land like copper. Rashi explains the difference between iron and copper. Okay, one gives up and one doesn't give off. It gives off a little bit, will give off, and it'll make it very, very bad. Okay, but v'shavati es ge'onuschem. I will break the pride of your might. What is the pride of your might? What does that mean? What is the pride of my might? Says Rashi. If you have a look over here at Rashi, Ge'on Uschem, Ze Beis Hamikdash. There you go. It is the Beis Hamikdash, the temple. So the question that's asked by the Or Chaim HaKodesh is, why is the Beis Hamikdash known as Ge'on Uschem? Your pride of your might. What does that mean? The pride of my might is the Beis Hamikdash. So what the Or Chaim says, I'll try to explain it maybe by adding something else in from the Nefesh HaChaim, is that the Beis Hamikdash has a certain amount of kedusha, has a certain amount of holiness, and that holiness is intrinsic to it, but it's also dependent on our treatment of the Beis Hamikdash. Meaning to say, if I treat the Beis Hamikdash properly, the Beis Hamikdash then has the power to inspire others. It has the power that the karbonos, the offerings that you bring there, go up to Shemayim and can atone for you, etc., etc. All the things Beis Hamikdash does for us. It brings us close to God. Whereas, if we all treat the Beis Hamikdash badly, what are we going to do? We're going to weaken its power. And so, for example, the Nefesh HaChaim says, that's Rav Chaim Volozhin, who was the top student of the Gaon of Vilna. He writes in a Sefer Nefesh HaChaim, he says, how can it be that the Romans, as well as the Babylonians, were able to come in to the Beis Hamikdash and to destroy the Beis Hamikdash? How are they allowed to do that? Yeah. Especially as the Gemara tells us that Titus HaRasha, Titus, who was the one who destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, came into the Beis Hamikdash, and what he did was he took a harlot and he went into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies, and he spread out a Sefer Torah, and he was intimate with her inside there in the Kodesh HaKadoshim on top of a Sefer Torah. That's a pretty intense way of telling God, I don't really care about you. Nothing happened to him. And many ask the question, well, how could it be that nothing happened to him? Mochi just came out. Mochi back in. How could it be that nothing happened to him if in the olden days, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. How could nothing happen to him if in the olden days, if somebody had walked in, the Kohen Gadol had walked into the Beis Hamikdash on Yom Kippur and slightly messed up, just a small mistake in the service, what happened? Died. Yeah, you have to pull him out with a rope. They had like a chain connected to him, and they had to pull him up. You know, like you're like, hey, that doesn't sound very good in there. That sounds like somebody fell down. All right. And in the time of the second Beis Hamikdash, many Kohanim Gedolim died. Most of them died. They weren't good. They weren't tzaddikim. And so everybody people bought the office of the Kohen Gadol with money. They bribed the Greeks. They became in charge. And then guess what? Gets to Yom Kippur. The guy's not really able to get to Yom Kippur. The guy's not good enough. He dies. And yet now, Titus walks in with a harlot. Nothing happens. How could that happen? So what he says is there's a Beis Hamikdash lemala, Beis Hamikdash lamata. There is in Shamayim a Beis Hamikdash which is corresponding to the Beis Hamikdash down here. And the Kedusha, the holiness of the Beis HaMikdash down here, is actually derived from the holiness of the Beis HaMikdash up in Shamayim. And if you ruin the Beis HaMikdash in Shamayim, if that gets destroyed, in inverted commas, then what happens to the Beis HaMikdash down here? It's just a shell. Just a building. And if it's just a building, that's just a building. That's got no, they can go into just a building with anybody you want to and do anything you want to. And whilst, God's going to punish the person for doing what he does. But the bottom line is they're not going to die. So when the Beis HaMikdash Shamala got destroyed, Beis HaMikdash Shamata got destroyed also. There was no more Kedusha, there was no more holiness in the Beis HaMikdash Shamata. Says the Or Chaim. He doesn't mention this. Rav Chaim Volozhin, I think the Or Chaim lived before, as far as my memory goes, the Or Chaim lived before the time of Rav Chaim Volozhin, but he probably knew the idea anyway. So what he says is the following: what happens when you're left with a Beis HaMikdash that has no holiness to it? What does it become? Let's say we have a shul. Unfortunately, I'll give you an example. Let's say you have many shuls where unfortunately the communities have died out and people have moved away, etc., and you're left behind with a shul anyway. What usually happens to that shul? What does it become of it? Sell the building, and if you don't sell the building, it becomes like the Jewish Museum here. What does it become? A museum, right? People are like, come, we'll show you what a real Orthodox synagogue used to look like. This is where the rabbi used to sit, and this is the ark. Look, we keep it open. We keep a Sefer Torah open. You can point at it if you want to, and you can see it hanging from where the ceilings or whatever else it is. And this is the bima, and this is where these are the pews, and this is where the ladies used to sit, and this is where the men. You show them a whole thing, right? It just becomes what? A showpiece. Unfortunately, a shul's not a showpiece. It's not meant to be there to show people what it used to look like when people used to come to the synagogue. Unfortunately, sometimes it becomes that. And then what does it become really? It becomes a symbol of culture, because it's not a shul anymore, because nobody davens there anymore. And the whole place has become changed around, entirely mutilated to just become some kind of show piece, an item that you show off to others, but it's got nothing in it. So says the Or Chaim, the Jewish people, when they're going through this entire period, we're going to read about it soon, when they have the decline in their religious observance and they lose all of that feeling for Yiddishkeit, what happens to the Beis HaMikdash, even if it still exists? What's a Beis HaMikdash for? Is it there to connect with God? Nope, not anymore, because the people have given up on God. So what then becomes of the Beis HaMikdash? It's a national treasure. We create a national trust, and there's a heritage fund, and it becomes a listed building, and you have to pay £10 to come inside and to see what's going on, and you can come inside. Oh, look, there's a Kohen. I remember we learned about the Kohen. Yeah, there are a whole bunch of priests. I mean, there are a whole bunch of phonies. They dress up and they do all sorts of weird stuff. Really doesn't mean anything. But nice to watch that. Nice to see this. Nice to see that. There's the Mizbeach. I've heard about the altar. We learned about it. Look, there's the holes exactly where it is. Oh, look at them. They're bringing the cow up onto the Mizbeach. How naive. How lovely. Very nice to watch. That's basically what happens. The Beis HaMikdash becomes what? It becomes an empty shell with a whole bunch of people taking pride in it because they say, I remember my Zayda who came from the Haim. He used to do these things. My Zayda who came from the Haim. He used to daven. And so I go to shul every once in a while to remember my Zayda. Maybe there's a yard site you go to say Kaddish. Maybe once in a while you wake up on a Shabbos morning, you got nothing to do. You go to shul and then you remember, oh goodness. Now I remember why I don't go to shul every week. The rabbi, the chazan, the laning, the talking, everything. The kiddush is no good either. There's nothing to come for. Nothing. And he goes back into his little shell. But if someone were to say to him, Yeah, but what about such and such a shul? My grandfather used to daven there. My grandfather was a regular. He used to come every day to all 3 minyanim, Shachris, Mincha, Maariv. You wouldn't miss him. During the week, Shabbos, never missed a minyan. What about you? Not my thing anymore. But how do you be the shul? Oh, this is a shul of my parents and my grandparents. I got a great affiliation with the shrubberies. I feel very, very part of it. How so? Culturally, not religiously. People who don't come to shul at all and then tell me that they have a great affiliation to the shul, it's not an affiliation that's based on God. And it's not an affiliation based on their religious feelings. It's an affiliation that's based on what? An emotional feeling of the past. My grandfather used to daven here. My great-grandfather used to be the warden. My great-uncle, he's on the stone. You go outside, you see the stones, all the stones with the names. They laid a foundation stone. My wife's father was president and vice president. You'll see them on the board in shul. Okay, where are you? We're not such shul-going people, but we love the synagogue. This is our shul. This is our home. If we want to go pray, that's where we go pray. But it's become a trophy. It's not a shul anymore. It's become something that you hold up and you say, but the shul that I affiliate with, the place that I go, that's that shul. That's my synagogue. So that's why he says, Ge'on uschem, the pride of your might. When you go down that slippery slope and davening ceases to be davening and learning ceases to be learning and you don't come anymore and it's not important. So what does the shul then become? A cultural icon and a reminder of a time long gone. It's not for us nowadays, but yeah, our grandparents and great-grandparents, they were great supporters of the shul. Okay? So to you, now it's become an heirloom. That's Ge'on Uschem, the pride of your might. Why is the Beis HaMikdash being referred to now over here as the pride of your might? Why don't we refer to the Beis HaMikdash? What's the pride aspect of the Beis HaMikdash? So he said, because you're dealing over here with individuals that have lost the religious aspect of the shul. So all they're left with is what? The pride aspect of the shul. Says God, I'll destroy the Beis HaMikdash. But I'm not calling the Beis HaMikdash now the Beis HaMikdash because it's not the Beis HaMikdash anymore. Because it's not anymore what it was meant to be. It was meant to be the Holy of Holies and the Holies where you bring the Karbanos. But you have taken it and brought it down so far that now that's not what it is anymore. Do you know what it is? Do you know? Just an heirloom. Ge'on uschem. Something you take great pride in. Because, historically speaking, this was a great building. And our grandparents used to do things over here. And it's a national treasure. It's a national memory. And we're very proud of it. We don't want to go there. Don't want to see any part of it. We're very proud of it as a national memory. And God says, I'll break that Ge'on uschem. I will destroy the Beis HaMikdash if you don't know how to treat the Beis HaMikdash properly. If that's all it becomes, a museum, then there's no point in me keeping it. Then God says, I'll get rid of it. Because we don't need a museum. Jews don't need a museum, they need a shul. Jews don't need a place where they say, oh, my grandparents used to come here, and I'm so proud of it. Think about your grandparents. It's about you. Are you coming? Are you showing up? Are you doing what you're supposed to? Or are you just saying, yeah, it's not for me? It used to be my grandparents. I'm proud of the building because my grandparents used to be in this building. But the davening doesn't do anything for me. It's not the building. It's the davening. If you focus on the building and not the davening, you got the wrong end of the stick. Okay? So that's it for tonight. I'm sorry we're not going to even be able to finish the last one. I have a meeting going on at 9. So I'm able to see that last idea. Thank you all of you that came to listen. We have here tonight. We got Malcolm and we got Mochi. So thank you to Malcolm and thank you to Mochi for coming. Thank you for all you on Facebook Live. Thank you to those on Zoom.
Yeah,
thank
well,
you
I mean, it's ready to.
Michael and Trevor, who are here in person,
having
all those on Torah anytime as well. Thank you very much. And hopefully you join us next week again. And if you want to get in touch, davideisenberg@gmail.com.